Senator Francis Heiliger, you're recognized for your point of inquiry.
Thank you. How are you? I'm trying to just get a little bit of clarity. I was under the impression that since we had received quite a bit of funding to repair Government House, that something would have been done to accommodate the governor at some point. Because I know over the years, the property has been transitioned depending on who was there. So has there been any discussion as to how the property was renovated and this burden be taken off of WICO? Because we did spend quite a bit to fix it back. And I was under the impression that because we have a governor with a wife and children, that it was going to be fixed in a way that that would now become the residence after spending millions of dollars. So I'm a little bit confused that this conversation with you guys still paying is still going on. Could you explain a little bit more? Thank you.
Yes, Senator. When you mentioned the millions of dollars to repair the residence, are you speaking about with Governor Turnbull, or are you speaking of as of late?
I am speaking about the house, the White House up there.
Government House?
Yes, Government House. So has there been any conversations with that being completed? Because we did spend quite a bit to renovate it after the hurricanes. Has there been any conversation about them potentially going there and then this additional burden being taken off of you guys?
Oh, we have not been speaking with the office of the governor about Government House. We're not involved in that.
I suspect, and this is just a suspicion, where the Senator Alma Francis Heiliger, you are recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to my colleagues, testifiers, as well as the people of the territory. I want to jump right into the testimony that was shared in regards to the attorney and the development of the board's bylaws and dealing with standard operating procedures that are hopefully once completed going to be followed. What has been the board, what have they been utilizing before the hiring of this attorney?
Senator, we have been, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Senator, we have been utilizing the Attorney General's office for any legal clarifications. And it came a time now when we have to move on from them because there are things sitting there that we have requested and we have not, gotten any response. So we decided that we will hire the attorney.
And well, thank you for sharing that. Also, you spoke about the drafting of the bylaws. Has there been any bylaws previously that you were using as to why you have decided to either implement or update these bylaws through the attorney?
No, they have not.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So you guys were just winging it? I have a very shocked look on my face. I'm really trying to understand what's happening here.
No, this board have been at work. We have been at work after we terminated the former director. We have actually been working. Some of the members of the board have been working with the operations.
Okay.
And and then we have a lot of stuff that we know we need to do, and we recognize it. Mm-hmm. And so we are going to move forward with that.
And in regards to the standard operating agreements, what were you utilizing for that? So this is going to be the first time you guys are developing some that will be followed, or did you have anything prior to?
To my knowledge, I want to say no.
Okay.
So we're going to develop, them for the enforcement officers now, and also for the the administrative staff as well.
Okay. Well, do you think that, because you're telling me that certain things were not set in stone, And you also just spoke about the termination of the previous director. Do you think, due to the lack of some of these things even being in existence, that there was not any clarification as to how certain things should or could have been done? Because when I listened to their testimony the last time, there was a clear demarcation as to what they thought their duties were versus what the board had to do, and that was some sort of contention. So if you're telling me today you really didn't have anything to follow, I'm trying to understand, did they understand their duties?
Senator, if I may?
Yes.
This is Secretary of the Board, Myrna George.
Yes, my dear.
At this time, am I being heard?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. At this time, we are being guided by Title 3, Section 274. And for legal sufficiency on any of our documents or to bring clarity, yes, we have forwarded to the Attorney General's office.
Okay. Thank you.
But at this time, we use Title 3, Section 274.
Thank you for sharing that. As Executive Acting Director, how are you?
Executive Director.
So it's the paperwork said acting, and I heard somebody reference ED, so I wasn't sure which one it was. So you have the job. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The question I wanted to ask has to do when you talked about the officers that are still under COVID protocol under the task force. And seeing that the governor has announced that he's basically opened back up the place, have you guys have any conversation with them for getting your staff back under your jurisdiction to execute the work of the taxi commission?
We have tried it.
May I, Senator, to the chair? May I answer that?
Yes, you could go forward and answer. Kindly proceed.
Okay. Yes, I had written a letter to the governor, ask him to release our officers because, they were badly needed, for the ships and for, regulation of the operators who are operating illegally and all this sort of those things. But I never got a reply.
So,
and I also, I had an agreement with Mr. Fellow, I guess his name is in St. Croix, where the one officer is, and we had agreed, and it's in writing, email, that, whenever we need him, he would come back to TCC, for a certain period of time, a week actually. So that was a little agreement.
Well, have you attempted to speak to the governor since his last announcement that basically we're open, or was this the letter prior to while we were in the heat of COVID?
Prior to, but I would have another. I did make a call to him to speak exactly, about that situation as well.
How long ago did that happen?
You mean when I called him?
Yes.
About 3 days ago.
Okay, and does he sound amenable to giving you back your staff?
No, we didn't have a conversation. He said he's going to call me. I told him what I wanted to speak to him about, and he's going to call me. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, he'll get back to you. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Oh, my time has been called? Okay. Well, I was told my time was called. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me the additional time.
You're welcome. To Alma Francis Heiliger, you're recognized for your 2 minutes.
Good afternoon once again, colleagues. Good afternoon to the testifiers. The first question I want to ask has to do with the COVID task force again. When you spoke earlier about funding, how much money do these enforcement officers currently cost from your budget?
I think that the chairwoman has said that she will submit all of the documentation relative to how much has been expended so far, because I don't want to give information Because COVID started prior to my arrival at Taxi Cab Commission, I do not have that information.
What feedback have you guys gotten from the taxis in regards to the potential raise of the tariffs? Do they feel that this is something great? Do they feel they're looking forward to it? Do they feel it might cause a little bit of issue where they might not make as much? What type of feedback have you gotten from them?
What we have received so far is that daily we get requests for the status of when are we going to address the issue with the tariff. So I know that you just joined us after my testimony, I believe, Senator. So in my testimony, I stated that we will be hosting town hall meetings to address the tariff issue so that we can get feedback from all of our drivers and operators throughout the territory on April 4th through the 6th. So that way we can get real good recommendations and feedback from those that are impacted directly by the tariff, and those are our operators.
Time.
Oh, well, thank you so much for the time.
You're welcome.
2 minutes.
Senator Alma Francis Heiliger, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Good afternoon to my colleagues again, the people of the territory, to the testifier. Executive Director Dow, as it relates to, you spoke earlier about potential loss of 9.2 million, but then you also said overall it was about 16 million plus. What austerity measures did you guys put in place to potentially offset the loss of those funds outside of what the legislature did provide? And you said you were also potentially looking for an additional 8. What happens if that does not materialize? Do you have plans in place to potentially prepare for something like that? I'm not saying we're not giving it, but I need to know what you're prepared to do to make sure you survive.
Just for the record, I hope you give it, but that $8 million I was referring to came from the ARPA fund that the administration controls. That wasn't from the legislature.
Okay.
But you know, as long as these port facilities open, we have to man them, which police, fire, everybody, you know, custodial workers, everybody. So there's only so much we can do as long as people are working. I think one of the things that we recently did, though, is that when we look at what we have some vacancies that we consider to be, at this point, not so critical. Some people who have retired over the years, what have you, or resigned, we have not hired them for a period of time because so we try to keep some personnel savings so that we could continue on. So as long as it wasn't what we consider critical, we have not really rehired much. When I say, sorry, go ahead.
And recently we just passed some legislation for self-insurance for you guys.
Correct.
In regards to, I think in your testimony, you spoke about a potential savings of 1.2 million. How did you come about to that calculation? And does the risk of doing it yourself potentially outweigh the savings?
No, because what we insure in here, and what we insure in here is primarily our marine markers. For example, those buoys out there. Those buoys, what you're seeing out there, they move, they sway with the wind, the rain. And we have, and then, for example, our pilot boat that goes out and so forth. We did an analysis internally. So our pilot boat must have had one incident over a 15-year period.
Okay.
The most money we ever paid out for anything that had to do with the pilot boat was $20,000. So for 15 years, we're paying a premium to ensure that, or those vessels, and you could see what we have paid out. The other big thing that we spend quite a bit of money on is our vehicles. Ms. Anis Hodge, our HR people, they were able to bring in some professional people to assist with driving, education, safety driving, and all these kind of things, thus trying to cut down on our accidents. The highest amount of money we ever paid out in one given year for vehicle accidents was, a high year was $300,000. Moreover, this body, the Port Authority, have what we call, we have a cap on what you could sue the port for as long as it's not willful negligence. And that cap is $75,000. So where we had, and when you're doing insurance, where you would have a sky's the limit exposure, you don't anymore. So that's just some of the areas, and we realize, and we thank the body again, because what we're able to do is take the same money. We're not saying that we're just going to put it in our operating budget. We're going to escrow that money and continue to build that so that it creates a rainy day fund if we need to do a major capital project, but we expect to keep capitalizing using the same money that we would have been paying to some company to put that in an escrow account.
Well, I'm happy to hear that our help is going to help you to get your job done.
For sure. Thanks.
When it comes to the competitive grants, as you know, under the Biden administration, they have this whole infrastructure plan, and some of it is competitive where you have to apply. Do you guys have a strategic plan in place for going after some of these monies outside of the ones you're going to be granted?
Yeah, what we do, I tell people all the time, all of us must recognize what we don't know, but know enough to get the assistance to get you there. So as a matter of fact, just yesterday we applied for a couple grants. We sent a letter of intent to the FA that we had a deadline we expect to apply. But at the same time, we have financial advisors, we have consultants. That Garden Finch pair that we're billing in St. Croix, we got $10.6 million. Matter of fact, your Senate president was a part of that transaction. She and I traveled to meet with some consultants stateside who specialized in grant writing. We hired them, we paid them $50,000. The first time we wasn't successful. We go back to the board, took another trip, hired them for a second time, $40,000. We were successful and got $10.6 million. We provide a lot of the information, but we must go to the technocrats in some respect. The people who do it every day for a living. So we're not ashamed to recognize where we might have a shortcoming.
So that is your strategic plan to make sure you get to the people that are capable of doing the job.
We do some of it ourselves, but we also have consultants that help us along the way.
Okay.
That $21 million with tropical shipping. Tropical shipping put up just about all of that money to hire the grant and the consultants grant writers and consultants to do that. We were the sponsor of the grantee at the end of the day, but we engage with tropical shipping to do that. So we've got to exercise our partnership, and that gave this Port Authority $21 million.
Excellent. When it comes to the Red Hook, the parking lot, I think that was a definite plus for that area. As someone that we've been traversing back and forth to St. John, dealing with constituents and even the legislature, almost every time I got there, I can't find parking because clearly it's being utilized, so it's a definite plus. Do you guys have any plans to expand? Is there land around the place? Or I need to know because a lot of people are asking about that.
Well, the parking facility at Red Hook, the port plans were that was going 3 floors.
Okay.
But we had some pushback. You go to CZM, people telling you why you shouldn't do this here and all of this kind of stuff. So that was a compromise because we wanted the project done, and at the same time there was some pushback, in the community. So we met that sweet medium. But I was in discussion with the folks at Port Property and Procurement because there was an area that when we're building the parking lot down by where the vegetable stand is, trailers are parked there. No, the Property and Procurement own it.
Okay.
And to me, it comes a point when we put a 3 or 4 story parking facility and people who traverse Red Hook.
So it's something that
it is a revenue making. When you look from the top of the National Guard Hill to run to Sapphire and look at hundreds of vehicles every day, it's the only place they park on the street and don't pay a dime. And those people going work, they're going to work to make money. So the government should have some facility out there and charge whatever they want, but these are some revenue opportunities for the government.
Okay. Well, I thought I heard time. I don't want to go overstep my boundaries. Okay, well, thank you so much. I didn't hear it, but thank you so much for the time, Madam Chair, and Mr. Dow for answering my questions.
Thank you, Senator Francis Heiliger. Hope I have it right.
Thank